Once you've created your file for Project 19 and you've placed your bat image, dragged in your guide to the middle of it, change the layer to be a template layer by activating this checkbox, you'll notice that that layer is locked. And it also, the name of the layer is italicized. So that is how you visually recognize a template layer every time. You'll create your artwork on top of that. So we're going to name this layer Bat. And again, follow the instructions by reading the details and making sure you don't skip anything. You'll use the pen tool to just create half the bat. I'm going to show you how to pop open the pen, all of the pen tools that are grouped in with the main pen tool. We'll talk about that in a minute. The instructions will tell you to only create half the bat. We're doing this because it's symmetrical. Now I'm going to do it so that it's a little bit off and will require a little bit of editing, which would be normal for someone who's just learning the pen tool. So you set up your points. Notice on the straight portion of the bat you wouldn't have any anchor points so that you would have a relatively straight line. We're going to go ahead and zoom in on this a bit so you can see how I'm going to clean this up. You might need to relocate where some of your anchor points are and retilt them. What I did notice is that I have a fill of white on. I'm going to turn on a stroke of red for right now, just so that, maybe not red, maybe we'll do yellow, so that you can see what's going on with the actual path. And you can see this anchor point is kind of tilting the path that's supposed to be very straight between these two anchor points. I'm going to fix, whoa, I'm going to fix this one just a bit. So in some cases you have to move the anchor point, sometimes you have to change the length of the handles or perhaps how they are tilted so that you can actually match this up. If by chance you had some extra points in this long straight part of the bat, which I just added some extra points that are errors, you can use the delete anchor point to delete those so that you get a straighter line. The idea here is to do this bat in as few anchor points as possible. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would say try to do yours in 8 points or less and you'd be in good shape. Okay, once you have this half of the bat created, we're going to reflect it and make a copy of it all at the same time so that the left side of the bat will appear to be the same as the right side of the bat, making it a symmetrical shape. What you need to do is switch over to the regular selection tool. I can see that some of these anchor points are not selected, so even though I have a bounding box, this is the only point that's active. So click off, click back on, following the instructions. And again, this is just an overview. You actually need to read all the instructions. We'll get into the reflect tool, and I will hold down the option key. Notice I got a little horizontal line next to my cursor. I'll let it go. That goes away. Press the option key again. I'm going to option click on this center guide, telling Illustrator that that's the point that I want to reflect things over. So I'm doing a vertical reflection that's side to side, and I want to make a copy. So now I could reposition this slightly if I needed to get it kind of where it needs to be. It might be helpful if when you do this and you zoom in, you can actually see, maybe I'll change the stroke on both of these to be black, might be a little bit easier to see. Sometimes you wind up with these 2 points exactly right on top of each other. I'm going to pull mine apart just so you can see how we're going to join the top and the bottom of the bat, because right now they are 2 separate paths. I'm just going to pull this, whoops, undo. I'm going to pull this apart, which is a really tough thing to do sometimes. Alright, so if you're having frustrations like me, zoom in so you can more accurately click just that point, and I'm going to click just this point, move it apart just so you can see. Alright, so the instructions for joining the end points of 2 open paths, and again, these are open. I didn't draw the whole bat coming back to the beginning and close it up. Excuse me. So you use the direct selection tool, drag across the two of these open endpoints. Sorry about that. And then I will object path, average their location, and I'm averaging both the horizontal and vertical position of these points. It actually drops them right on top of each other, and then I'll do object path join. Now I can tell if these two paths are joined if, when I move them, move the one point, the paths on either side move together as one. Okay, so that's the bottom, and then I'll repeat this procedure at the top of the bat. Perhaps I'll zoom out of it. Just drag across these two endpoints. Notice I'm using the white direct selection tool. Object path, average their position, both. Object path join. And now I have a point that creates a totally closed path. So watch this a few times if you have troubles. One of the things that will cause problems is if you have not created your template layer separate from your artwork layer. So notice the bat, if I turn this visibility icon, the eyeball, the path for the bat is on a separate layer than the path for the template. And the template will always, in the guide for the template, or the guide for the placed TIFF is on that same layer. So it gets locked when the template is locked. All right, that's it. Go ahead, please follow the instructions specifically, read them for detail. You can come back and watch this again if you're having problems.